Hello everyone. Welcome to Turkish Series Stars. All the details are in our video. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe and share so you don't miss the latest stories. Thank you. After months of choosing silence, Akin Akinozu has finally broken that quiet about his long-talked-about closeness with Ebru Şahin, and the ripples are already spreading through the gossip world. Their once electric partnership on set and the warmth they showed off camera made them a favorite topic for fans and tabloids alike. Then, without warning, that warmth cooled, and questions hung in the air with no answers. Today, for the first time in a long time, Akin has given his side, and the narrative around their bond has shifted again. It is impossible to talk about recent television history without mentioning how Akin Akinozu and Ebru Şahin lit up the screen together. In the years when their show became a phenomenon, their timing, their gazes, and the unspoken understanding they communicated turned casual viewers into devoted followers. On set, they were known for their dedication and their respect for the craft. Off set, their camaraderie and natural ease translated into candid photos, playful interviews, and a shared language only two people who have truly spent time together can develop. That special air between them later evaporated with a speed that surprised everyone. The duo who once seemed inseparable even in interviews suddenly stopped appearing in the same frame, stopped showing up to the same gatherings, and let that pause stretch into guesswork. What happened? That question has dizzied fans for ages, and for just as long, neither Akin nor Ebru had offered an answer. In a rare sit-down interview this week, though, Akin chose to open up, and his words, weighted with sincerity, pointed to an emotional reality he has carried quietly. Ebru was a turning point in my life, he reflected, looking down for a beat as if measuring which version of the truth to share. We weren't just colleagues. There was a friendship that felt like home. I stood by her when things were heavy, and I know she stood by me too. But sometimes, even when you show up every day, the thread you're trying to keep from snapping still breaks. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't rush to defend himself. He simply revealed the part of the story that belonged to him, explaining that he had stayed loyal to the bond for as long as he could. Then, with a breath that told you he had said these words to himself 1,000 times before today, he added, I kept trying. I wanted to hold on. But she was the one who decided to close that chapter. There was no accusation in his tone, just a confession that the decision hadn't been mutual and that, in his view, he walked away only after realizing he was walking alone. You could feel the room shift when he said it. The admission was gentle, yet it carried the weight of unfinished farewells. It immediately shot through social media and hit trending lists in a matter of minutes. Some followers applauded him for being honest at last, claiming that everyone deserves to tell their truth when they're ready. Others pushed back, saying that matters of the heart should remain private, especially when both people have carefully kept the curtains drawn. The debate hardened quickly. Was this him seeking closure, or him pulling the curtain back too far and exposing a story that had needed quiet to heal? Comments flooded in. He sounds wounded but sincere, wrote one fan, praising his vulnerability. Another replied, sincerity doesn't mean you should go public. This feels late and a little sharp. Meanwhile, a third voice chimed in with the argument that the truth was due. For years we've heard speculation. At least now we know how he felt. The split was immediate and intense. It was also familiar. Every time a famous pair with undeniable chemistry chooses different paths, the audience fractures into factions of sympathy, skepticism, and hope. And what about Ebru? In the hours following the interview, she kept silent. No story, no statement, no cryptic caption. Close to her, whispers suggest that she was caught off guard by how directly Akin framed the end of their bond. Those same whispers insist that she prefers calm to conflict and would rather let this storm pass than build it into a hurricane. People who care for her frame her quiet not as indifference but as a choice to protect herself and everyone involved from a cycle of headlines that could grind on for weeks. Whether that silence hides a tender ache or a composed acceptance is a mystery only she can resolve. For those who have watched them since the early days, This latest chapter triggers 100 memories, the behind-the-scenes moments where they laughed between takes, the interviews where one's eyes brightened when the other spoke, the award nights where they briefly touched hands with an ease that was more telling than any scripted line. Those days birthed countless rumors, romantic and otherwise, and yet throughout the frenzy the pair stayed on a simple message: we are very good friends. They didn't deny their closeness, they refused to let labels define it. It worked for a while. Then the photos slowed, the public support posts faded, and sightings became rare enough to feel like fiction. Their friendship once looked effortless, then it became a guessing game. Akin's decision to speak now feels like a door left ajar finally being shut with intention. Was he defending himself from narratives he never chose? Perhaps. Was he finally ready to place the period on a sentence that had lingered with a comma? Likely. He said, without dramatics, that he did everything he knew how to do to protect the connection that once felt unbreakable. But in his telling, the choice to walk away wasn't his. You can keep showing up to the same place in your heart, he said softly, and still realize the other person has gone home early. The aftermath is the story. As the clips spread, friends, colleagues, and fans took sides or stepped back. Some praised the courage it takes to admit the truth about wanting to stay when the other person is already gone. Others worried about the fallout for Ebru and whether the public framing would corner her into a narrative she never consented to. A few more, perhaps the quietest of all, expressed hope that this would be the last chapter of a book that had stayed open too long, that they would both close it with grace and move towards separate futures without shadows. For now, Ebru remains off the record. Sources say she's watching, thinking, maybe even crafting a response that won't worsen the noise. Or maybe she will choose to say nothing at all, letting time soften a conversation that could otherwise cut. In this glittering world, silence can be a strategy or a scar. It can be armor, or the deepest communication of all, a refusal to turn love, friendship, and memory into entertainment. To understand the weight of this moment, it helps to remember where their story began in the public eye. Their series pushed them together under high stakes and long nights. They learned each other's rhythms in rehearsal halls and lonely locations. They were praised for their discipline, but what captivated the audience was the feeling that something authentic was spilling through the screen. They joked about rumors in interviews, always circling back to the same line about friendship. Even so, when people saw them together, they often left with the impression that the word friend was stretching to cover something fuller and more fragile. Later, when their public interactions dwindled, the tabloid cycle swung into overdrive. Was there a rift? Did work pull them apart? Were they protecting something personal from prying eyes? The speculation never settled. It didn't help that both of them, stubborn in their refusal to feed the fire, gave very little away. They let the audience piece together fragments from appearances, liking patterns, and awkward pauses. It was a puzzle with pieces missing, a story told in negative space. Until now. In his interview, Akin didn't write a one-sided history. He didn't cast himself as a hero or paint Ebru with easy colors. He simply stated that he tried to preserve a connection that was precious to him and that the ultimate choice to end it didn't come from his hand. It's a simple sentence that lands heavy because of who they are and what the public has projected onto them. And because it vibrates with the reality that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is accept an ending that they did not choose, then keep their dignity intact as they step away. Will this confession redraw the lines between them? Will it finalize a goodbye that has been half-written for years? Or could it clear the air enough to allow a calmer, platonic chapter to begin again, with new boundaries and gentler expectations? No one knows. All eyes are on Ebru. If she speaks, how will she frame what happened? If she remains quiet, will the silence be read as grace or grief? In a world that wants everything explained, perhaps the most human choice is no statement at all. The entertainment landscape thrives on endings and reunions, on whispered texts and sudden unfollows. What makes this different is that the faces at the center are two artists who earned their audience not merely through looks and headlines, but through work, craft, and a rare ability to transmit feeling. That is why this moment resonates. It is not a scandal with secret footage or a fight in a parking lot. It's two people facing the hard truth that even bonds built in the best conditions can unravel in ways that leave both sides aching and proud. As the days pass, the frenzy may ease. The comment sections will slow, and the same fans who argued late into the night will drift back to their routines. But the echo of Akin's words will linger because they ring with melancholy and acceptance. He didn't lash out. He didn't beg. He simply described the end as something he wished he could have avoided and couldn't. And folded inside that simplicity is an entire universe of what-ifs. If timing had been different. If pressure had been lighter. If love had been enough. For now, that is where we are. One voice has spoken with measured candor, and one remains silent by choice. Between those two poles lies a landscape of memory, devotion, and distance. Whether the story closes for good or evolves into a kinder, quieter friendship, we'll be here to witness the next step when and if they choose to take it in public view. Until then, we wish both of them peace, clarity, and the kind of honesty with themselves that their fans admire on screen. We've reached the end of our video. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish Series Stars and share this video. See you in the next one.